Okay, we'll make a start then. Thanks everybody for attending this evening's webinar. Tonight, this webinar is on choosing the right social media platform for your business as part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week. My name is Chris Barnhill. I'm the Digital Marketing Officer for the tourism team at Mid and East Antrim Borough Council. And tonight's webinar shouldn't last any more than about an hour and a half to 2 hours max. We don't have any planned breaks, but feel free to go and grab a coffee as and when you need. We've allocated time at the end as well for a Q&A. So please feel free to use the Q&A function within Zoom or send any questions or comments just as we go through the webinar. At the end then, we'll have a short case study from Mid and East Antrim, and I'll take that just to discuss what our social media strategy looks like in terms of a destination marketing organisation, what platforms we use and some examples of our content and what we find works for us, etc. But I'll hand over now to Rebecca Tini, who will be running this webinar tonight. Rebecca is a social media expert at Digital Performance Labs, and she's going to kick off the session for us now. Thanks, Rebecca.
No problem. Thank you very much, Chris. So yes, as Chris says, I am Rebecca. I'm actually not Rebecca Mackay, but I was previously Rebecca Tini. And
Rebecca.
No worries. And I'm going to be taking the webinar tonight. So like Chris said, we're going to be talking about social media marketing. We're going to be talking about what that is, why it's important for your business, particularly within the tourism and hospitality industry. And we're going to talk about an overview of social media platforms. Those platforms that we're going to be looking at are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We're also going to be chatting about how to develop a social content strategy. So we're going to spend a good bit of time chatting about that. And then we're going to have a quick look at some useful tools you can use for social media management. All of these will be free tools. Everything that we're going to be focusing on today are things that are free and are readily available to you in whatever industry you're in or whatever resources you have. Then, as Chris says, he's going to be sharing with us briefly a couple of examples of how Mid and East Antrim Council use social media organically in ways that work for them. Then we're going to quickly talk about a couple of other things in the future that you might want to consider in terms of social media that's sort of a level up from just sort of basic understanding social media. And then at the very, very end, we are going to have a Q&A. So please feel free as I'm chatting. You are probably aware already at this stage, I can't see you, I can't hear you. So if you have any questions with anything that I'm saying throughout the presentation, just fire them into the chat and then I'll get back to those and answer them at the end of the webinar. If there's no questions, that's no bother, and we can just finish a little bit early. So please do ask away if there's any questions. Today, we're going to be talking quite generally about social media platforms. So if you have specific questions to do with those platforms, then we can definitely answer those and we can talk a little bit more in depth about those at the end. So first things first, what is social media marketing and why would it be important for your business? So like we touched on, today's session is really focusing on social media at the basics and social media for beginners and what platform you should be on if you're new to social media marketing, or if maybe you're kind of on everything and you feel like you're maybe not really doing any of them effectively or to the best of your ability. So just to kind of go back to basics and the very beginning, what is social media marketing and why might you want to use it for your business? So social media marketing can be really helpful for any business, whatever industry you're in, but obviously we're looking today at the tourism and hospitality industry. So three key reasons that it can be really, really useful for your business. It can help to build brand awareness. It can increase sales and it can drive website traffic. So sometimes a common misconception that businesses might have, particularly ones that I have spoken to within Northern Ireland, is, we don't have a website, so there's no point us posting digitally online because we've got nowhere to send people to. That is not the case. So that is one of the reasons, and one of the benefits for having social media is driving people through to your website. However, really, really key for building brand awareness, specifically within the tourism industry. If you are an attraction or you are a particular restaurant in a particular popular area, you really are competing with other people, and you want to make sure that if someone is coming to your area and they're looking for things to do, that you have built up enough brand awareness, they're going to think, oh, I saw that person on social media, or I've heard from word of mouth of this particular attraction, so I'm going to go to that and I'm going to take part in that. So brand awareness is really, really important. And then obviously the other one is increasing sales. So again, even if you don't have a website to drive traffic through to, you're going to have a phone number, you're going to have an email address, you're going to have a physical location where people can turn up or ring you or email you and make those bookings. So ticket sales might not be through your website, but people can still pick up the phone and give you a call or send you an email based off your social media. So really, really important. So hopefully by this stage you understand that social media is really important. But what does it involve? So we're going to kind of quickly look at sort of 4 areas that are involved in social media marketing. Common misconception is that social media is just a case of creating a profile and then just posting stuff and firing out into the online world and just hoping that it gets some kind of engagement. But there are kind of 4 key areas of social media marketing that we're going to have a look at in a minute. One of them is strategy and having a strategy. The other one is putting out content that is good content and engaging content, which is the area people tend to focus the most on. The third area is listening to and engaging with your followers or people who are talking about you, even if they're not followers on social media. And then the last one is analyzing your results and learning how to constantly improve on your social media channels. So that's a brief introduction to what social media marketing is. We're going to be going back and touching on all of those things throughout the content that we're going to be looking at tonight. Before we kind of dive a little bit more into those 4 areas of social media marketing, these are just a couple of stats on the screen just to kind of get you thinking about social media marketing and why it's important. So one of the key reasons as to why it's important is it's where your audience is. We're going to be talking tonight about each channel and how specific channels might be more so where your audience is than other channels, but there will be a social media channel somewhere where your audience are, whatever their demographic is, whatever their gender, their age group, their interest, whatever that might be. So we're not going to go through each single one of these and how many people are on them. And sometimes you can feel like these statistics are not necessarily that relevant to you because we're talking about like Facebook, there's 9.9 billion users. Obviously, those are not 2.9 billion users in Northern Ireland. However, if there are 2.9 billion users on Facebook worldwide, you can assume that a lot of people in Northern Ireland are using Facebook. So this is just to kind of give you an idea of how many people worldwide are using social media platforms. Also, being in the tourism industry in Northern Ireland, obviously we're also looking worldwide as well. So it's important to know where people outside of Northern Ireland are as well. So that's just a couple of platforms. We're not going to be chatting today about Pinterest, YouTube, and Snapchat. But if you do have any questions about any of those channels, we can answer those at the end of the session as well. But today we're going to be looking specifically at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok, like I said earlier. So if you're not already convinced, here are 5 reasons as to why you should invest your time in social media. So like I already said, it's where your customers are. So we're going to talk about what particular platform that might be, but you will find your customers on some social media platform, whatever that might be. Secondly, and probably most importantly, it's efficient for your business. The likes of other digital marketing strategies, such as email. Email is great. I love email. It's something that I use a lot, and it's something that I do a lot in my business. It is a free platform, which is why it's great. However, it can be quite time consuming. Paid ads obviously can be expensive. SEO, you need a good level of understanding to be able to do it well. Social media is the one platform where you can completely use only free tools and teach yourself everything that you need to know and do it well as a business within a much shorter time frame and a much more efficient time frame than if you're writing emails or you're experimenting with paid ads and find out what works and what doesn't. So that can be one of the most important things that I find for businesses is the way they should be on social media is if you have limited resources, social media is always something that you can do. The third thing that it helps you stand out from the crowd. So sometimes this can be a little bit of a catch-22, but at the beginning, very much so in Northern Ireland, being on social media as someone in the tourism industry, as an attraction, as a restaurant, it could definitely be a way to help you stand out from the crowd. Now, everyone is on social media, so it's kind of now a case of trying not to get lost within the crowd, but it gives you the opportunity to stand out from the crowd if you do social media and you do social media well. The fourth thing, and again, another really important thing, is it builds your business community. So whether that is a community of loyal people who will keep coming back to your restaurant or who will revisit your attraction or your accommodation year on year, or if it is people in your industry who want to support you and tell the people who are staying at their accommodation to come and visit your attraction because you've built a community with them. Different social media platforms allow you to build a community better than others, and we're going to chat about that when we look at those social media platforms. But it's definitely a really important thing. That can be a side of social media that can take a little bit more time and more commitment than just posting something and sending it out there and hoping for the best. But it's definitely when you kind of use all of those different 4 areas of social media that we touched on, we're going to go back and look at that area of engaging with and listening to your customers is a really, really important thing that can bring you a lot of long-term benefit to your business. And then finally, it allows you to be creative. So we're going to look at 5 different social media platforms. They're all very different from each other. They all have their own benefits. They all have their own drawbacks. So each one allows you to be creative in a different way. whether that's being creative with your words, creative with video, creative with humor, creative with image, whatever. So 5 different reasons why it's good to invest in social media. Moving on then. So like I touched on already, there are 4 different areas that we refer to as the core pillars of social media marketing. Every single one of them is important. And if one of them is forgotten about and one of them is removed, then it will reduce the effectiveness of all of them working together. So the first one is strategy, having a clear plan. The second one is then planning and publishing that content. The third one is listening and engaging with your followers or people who are talking about your business. And the last one is looking at the performance of your social media and learning from that, and then applying that back into your strategy, and it starts all over again. So we're going to look at each one of those in a little bit more depth, and then we're going to move on to talking about the different platforms. We'll be moving quite fast through all of the content because there is a lot to talk about within a very short time frame. So first of all, talking about strategy. So strategy, we are going to go back and talk about in a lot more depth in a minute, because this is a really, really important one. And this is the one that kind of takes the most, obviously, planning, because it is strategy. So it's things like looking at what are the goals of your business? What are the goals that you want to achieve on social media? Who are your customers? Where are your customers? What social media platforms are your customers on? What social media platforms do you want to focus on? How are you going to get the most out of those platforms? What features are you going to use? What content are you going to share? Is it going to be educational? Is it going to be entertaining? All of those different things and all of those different questions. That, to me, and I think to a lot of business owners, can be the area of social media that can sometimes feel the most overwhelming. It's all of those different questions, answering those different questions. But we're going to go through that in a little bit more depth. I've done you a little to-do list as well, and you can refer back to, and hopefully that takes away a little bit of the fear or the reservations that can sometimes be around social media, and can help you feel by the end of the session that you're clear as to why you would be on this channel, what you're going to use it for, what the goals are of that channel, who you're going to reach, and what you want to get out of it. So hopefully that is the case. So that's strategy, and we're going to go back and look at that in more depth in a second. The second one then is planning and publishing. I'm going to share a couple of tools at the end that you can use to help with this. So once we have thought about our strategy and we know the types of content that we want to be sharing, we then need to plan out, okay, exactly what content are we going to share at what particular time, when are we going to post it, how are we going to schedule it and get it out there, and all of that other kind of stuff. Like I was saying, I will touch on a couple of free tools that you can use that can help with the content creation process, with coming up with ideas for content, and also for publishing content as well. But this is the second pillar. So once we have thought about our content, we really have to be intentional with the content that we're sharing. And I'm sure that Chris will probably touch on that later whenever he's talking about MEA and social media. He'll probably touch on the importance of having a plan and actually knowing what you're going to be sharing, and not just sort of posting something and kind of hoping for the best. It's really, really important to be planned. When I am doing the social media for our business or for another business, I will always start with a content plan and writing out what are my ideas, what are all the different areas, when are we going to post them, and then I'll create the content and then I'll schedule the content. But we're going to again come back to that and talk about that in a little bit more depth soon. But that's the second pillar. The third pillar then, which we have touched on as well already as well, is listening and engaging. So that can look different depending on what platform that we're on. But generally it's in the form of commenting on people's posts, replying to comments on your own posts, liking things, interacting with things, messaging people, reaching out to people, responding to customer inquiries, all of those different things that involve interacting with people. And then the other side of things is listening as well as engaging. So listening is things like searching for a hashtag related to your business. So if you were particular one, name any specific restaurants or any specific businesses within MEA, but if you were a particular restaurant, you could search hashtag the name of the restaurant or your particular attraction. You could search, say, let's go for the North Coast because that's not MEA, say you were Barry's or not Curry's. You could search hashtag Curry's or hashtag Barry's and find content that people are sharing about you, whether that is on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and all of those platforms use hashtags. And you can find content that people are sharing about you that you wouldn't have received a notification for. You can also check your notifications on a regular basis and see, has anybody tagged your business in a post or in a comment? It's really important to do that, and I would recommend making sure that you're doing that on a regular basis. If it is positive content, then it's not time sensitive in terms of getting back to it. However, if it is negative content, the faster that you can find that and the faster that you can respond to that, appropriately and professionally, then the less damage that's going to do for your business. So it's really important to keep an eye and to listen out for when your business is being mentioned on social media. So that's listening and engaging. We're not going to focus too much on that today, and we're really going to be talking more about the strategy side of things. But all you need to remember is listening and engaging. Make sure that you listen, make sure that you set aside time every day to engage with your customers and with your community on the platforms that you choose to be on. The fourth and the final one then is analytics and reporting. So after you have developed your strategy, you know what your goals are, you know what you want to get out of social media, you have started planning out content and posting that content, and you have spent time engaging with people, listening to what people are saying about your business, it would all be for nothing if you don't go back and check and see how that's actually performed and how it's benefiting your business. So you need to measure that content and see, is this helping me achieve the goals that I set out for my business at the beginning? Those goals that you set out might be specific to social media. You might say, okay, I really want to focus on growing my brand awareness. Maybe you are a new restaurant, or you are an attraction that has recently undergone a bit of redevelopment, and you've revamped and you've added on a coffee shop, and you want to really promote yourself and increase brand awareness. You need to have goals that are related to brand awareness. So for you, that could be, okay, we're going to be on this new platform, or maybe we're already on this platform. We want to focus on growing our following on social media, or we want to focus on increasing our engagement on the content that we're posting. You need to go back, you need to check that, and you need to see, is that actually working for your business? Or if you have a website and you're really focusing on ticket sales and you want to see, is Facebook or is Instagram driving ticket sales on my website, then you need to go into the website. You need to check in the back end and see, is our traffic coming from Facebook? Is it coming from Instagram? Has that increased? Has that dropped? And what is the crack there? So analytics and reporting are really, really important. Another thing on a much more basic, simple level, it's really just a case of, and I would recommend doing this once a month, going into the social media platform that you have chosen to be on, whether that is 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 different platforms, and saying, okay, here are the 10 posts that we've posted this month. Which one got the best engagement? Which one got the least engagement? Did any of them get negative feedback? Did any of them result in ticket sales? Did any of them result in reservations for our restaurant? Have a look, analyze, see what did well, and then when it comes back to then planning your content for the next month, implement those things that you've learned. And you might find, okay, whenever we post a photograph of our special, we get a lot of engagement. We get a lot of people ringing us or asking if they can collect that special, maybe if you do collection or orders or whatever that might be. Or you might find, okay, whenever we post a photograph of our menu, people don't really interact with that because they're not really interested in seeing a photograph of a menu on the website. They want to see good, engaging content on social media. Whatever that might be, that is not necessarily the case one way or the other. That's not based on anything. That's just me making assumptions. So those are the 4 different areas. So strategy, planning and posting, listening and engaging, and then your analytics and your reporting. Like I was saying, we're going to be focusing specifically on strategy and planning and posting, as well as the different social media platforms. So hopefully by this stage, your brain is not too fried with information. I have no idea because I cannot see you and I cannot hear you. So hopefully you're all okay and you're hanging in there. But feel free to go for, like Chris was saying, if you need to go for a wee coffee break or grab yourself a glass of water, feel free to work away. And if you have any questions and you do feel overwhelmed, just fire some questions and we shall answer them at the end of the session. Okay. So the next thing then is the overview of the platforms. So like I said, we're going to be looking at 5 different platforms. Those are Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok. This, for me, is the part that I find the hardest to plan and will probably find the hardest to talk about. The reason being, each social media platform, you could talk for 1 to 2 hours in terms of that platform, what it's good for, what the best practices are, how to use that platform, all of those different things. There's so much to say about each one that is helpful and is insightful for your business, but we're going to try and be as brief as possible firing through those so that we can talk about everything else we want to talk about. So like I was saying, we are going to be talking about these quite briefly. So if there are specific questions with those channels, if you're maybe using those channels and there's something that you're finding difficult, there's a problem you've encountered, there's something you can't get to work, you can just fire that into the Q&A. If Chris knows the answer, he'll fire the answer back. And if not, I'll obviously get back to you at the end and answer all of those questions. So first things first, Facebook. So Facebook is the social media platform, at least from a business perspective, in Northern Ireland, that has been around for the longest period of time in comparison to Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, not necessarily LinkedIn. So with Facebook, there can sometimes be the assumption, because it is the platform that has sort of been around for the longest period of time, there's an assumption that you always need to be on Facebook, or even with Instagram, there's an assumption that you always need to be on Instagram. The purpose for tonight and what we want to talk about tonight is each platform, what it's good for and what type of business should be on it, or what type of business it might not necessarily have that much of a benefit for. So I very much don't like telling people, and would not tell someone that you need to be on every single social media platform, no matter who you are, how much content you're producing. Only be on a platform if you feel like you have the time to give to it, feel like you have the resources to put the content up that channel expects, and that you feel like that's where your customers actually are and where you're going to get the results that you're looking for. With that being said, Facebook is generally the best all-rounder for a number of reasons. So the way that I've kind of broken down each of these platforms is I'll talk about what it's good for, things that could be better, general best practices, and key features. This is usually something that I would talk about in the space of an hour. We're going to try and talk about each one in the space of about 5 minutes. So we'll see how we go. So first things first, like I was saying, Facebook is a good all-rounder. It does a lot of things and allows you to do a lot of things. So firstly, it is good for connecting with an older demographic, but also a broad audience in general. So this is good for people who maybe are not sure who exactly their target market are yet, or who kind of just reach a general target audience. For example, if you are a coffee shop or a restaurant, or even an attraction, but an attraction that kind of serves everybody, not one that's focused on a specific age group. So a restaurant and a cafe are a good example, because generally, if you've ever been in a restaurant or cafe, or you work in one, you will be one of the two. You'll know that it is of all ages. It's families, it's couples, it's older couples, it's everybody. So Facebook can be a good place to be if you are a restaurant and if you are a cafe. Another reason why it's really good is it allows you to share all content types. As we'll find when we look at each platform, that is not the case with every platform. So on Facebook, I can share links, I can share images, videos, reels, which we'll talk about in a minute, stories, which we'll also talk about in a minute, and polls as well. So I can, which you can do on LinkedIn, you can do on Twitter, you can do on Instagram, and you cannot do on TikTok. So you can do polls on pretty much every platform, but you can do them quite well and quite effectively on Facebook. So for each one of these, an important thing to point out is you can do each one of them individually by itself. So on Facebook, I can go in, I can go to write a post, and I can just share a link and just post that. So for example, for us as a marketing agency, that might be a case of just going on and sharing a link to a blog that we've just written that week, which was the case last week. So you can just go in and share a link. On other platforms, if you're sharing a link, you need to also be sharing an image to be able to share that link to, or you need to be writing a bit more content or whatever that might be. Facebook is very versatile in terms of the content that you can share, and all content does well. However, a good thing to bear in mind is video content is always going to do the best. So if you share video content on Facebook, that is the content type that is most likely to get the most amount of engagement. So that's just something to bear in mind in terms of best practice. It's also really good for allowing users to easily contact you. So that is a reason why it can be really good for the likes of cafes, restaurants, or if you are say you're like near Loch Ness and you're water sports, that can also be really, or something where people are going to be ringing and just trying to book, especially if you maybe don't have a website. You can easily put in links for your phone number, links for your email address, and people can click those directly and directly ring you, or they can directly email you. You can have direct links to your address. People can click that, it will open maps and it will take them directly to where you are. And you can set up automated messaging as well. So if someone sends you a message directly within Facebook, it might then present them with a list of options. Are you getting in touch with us to book a reservation at our restaurant, to see our menu, to see our availability, or to ask about an upcoming event, whatever that might be? You can set up automated messaging, and that could be really helpful and allow you to effectively communicate with your audience and make it easy for your audience to get in touch with you, which is a really important thing. Another thing that it's really good for is building community through groups, and we're going to chat about that towards the very, very end as to why that's good and why that's something to maybe think about. But yes, groups are something, they are separate. If you're completely new to Facebook, there is Facebook personal profiles, there's a Facebook business profile, which is what we're talking about here. And then you can also set up, as a business or an individual, you can set up a Facebook group. That would be a private group. That can either be a closed group or a group that people can choose to join publicly. And you can share content within that. The people within the group can share content, and it has a much more community focus than if you're just sharing on your business page and just posting information out to people. So that's what groups are, if you don't already know, but we'll talk about that more in a wee minute. It's also really great for sharing events. So if you are I don't know, like a town hall or somewhere that hosts a Christmas pop-up event, or, you know, events in the summer where you're selling tickets, or you just want to gauge how many people roughly are we going to expect at this festival or at this fair or whatever it might be. Facebook is the best platform for creating events and for sharing events and for gauging the engagement and how many people are going to come to it, and also then for allowing you to have a platform to then share that content and share, this is how the event went, here's what's currently happening at the event, here is, you know, live updates on what's happening. So it's great for events. It's also great for advertising. We're not going to chat about advertising site because we are focusing specifically on organic social media. However, the Facebook ads platform is one of the most effective social ads platforms to use. It's something that I use on a daily basis. I definitely recommend it for businesses. There's a lot more that we could talk about on that, but unfortunately that's not for today's webinar. So advertising is another really great reason to be on Facebook. You have to have a Facebook account to be able to use Facebook advertising and reach Facebook users. So that in itself is a good reason to have a Facebook account. The other reason it's really, really good for, which is especially important and relevant within the tourism and hospitality industry, is reviews and user-generated content. So UGC, if you see that anywhere throughout this PowerPoint, it means user-generated content. So within a Facebook business page, if you don't already know, there is a section that's automatically there that allows people to leave reviews for your business. So you will obviously see this a lot in cafes, in restaurants, but also for attractions or sports or events, all of those kind of things that people might be going to and spending their money on experiences or restaurants or products. So reviews are great and user-generated content as well, because it is created by a customer and not created by yourself. So in the content you're posting, you can be talking about how great you are, how great your food is, how great your staff are towards customers who are paddleboarding for the first time or whatever that might be. But until someone who has actually experienced that themselves, as a genuine customer, writes in and says, this staff member treated us all so fantastically, my kid had never paddleboarded before and they were so amazing to me, or someone said this was the best chicken burger I've ever had in my life and the staff were so great, that is going to hold a lot more weight than just you posting about your business. Facebook is the only social media platform that has a dedicated section for reviews. So definitely, if that is something that is important for you, Facebook can be a really, really great place for hospitality and tourism businesses to be, for sure. So there's lots and lots and lots of reasons as to why it's good. There'll not be as much to say about other social media platforms, but Facebook has a lot of benefits. However, where it can be better. So if you are a business that is very much targeting that younger demographic of maybe 18 to 24, you are unlikely to see, not completely unlikely, but unlikely to see success on Facebook if you're targeting that younger demographic. If you're focusing on a younger demographic, you'll be better focusing on Instagram, you'll be better focusing on TikTok, which we'll talk about briefly in a minute. So that is one of the downsides of Facebook. However, if your audience is a general, wide-reaching audience, it's a good idea to be on Facebook, but also probably to supplement that with another social media platform that is targeting that younger age group as well. Another reason that it could be better, and this is true of most social media platforms, but at least in my experience, I have found it to be the most difficult on Facebook. The other reason it could be better is that it can be difficult now compared to previously to build and to maintain page following and engagement. This is due to the Facebook algorithm. If you are completely new to social media, or if you are on social media and you have never heard of the word, or you don't understand what the word Facebook algorithm means, what it essentially means is, back in the days, if you remember when Facebook first started, everything was great and there was only a few people on it, everything was chronological. So if I was on Facebook and I was business and someone followed me and I posted something at 7 o'clock about my restaurant, people who followed me would see it on their newsfeed at 7 o'clock. That then ceased to be the case years ago when Facebook brought in what was called the Facebook algorithm, and every other social media platform has since now followed suit and has their own algorithm. Essentially what it is, and the idea behind it, is that it makes the experience, or at least the idea is that it makes the experience better for the user and for the person who is on the other side of that newsfeed, because basically the algorithm is designed to pull in content that it thinks will be helpful and relevant to those people. So it no longer will show you the content that was posted at the particular time of day that you're on that social media platform. It could show you a post from 3 days ago, from a week ago, from a month ago, as long as it thinks that it is relevant. there are lots of different factors that will influence your ability to be in the, what I kind of refer to as the good graces of that algorithm as a business. So things like making sure you are posting consistently, you are engaging with other people, you are showing content that is relevant, that is helpful, you're using the key features that are on Instagram. So whether that is showing video content, using the Reels feature, using the Stories feature, using polls, you're tagging people, all of those different things. Basically being as active as possible indicates to Facebook that your business page has value to people. It is significantly harder for businesses to get their content in front of people than a personal profile, because Facebook is taking the point of view of this business is trying to sell these people. These people are here because they want to see the updates of their friends and they want to see helpful content. So Facebook are less likely to share your content. That can make it very, very difficult to grow your page following. Another reason why it can be very difficult to grow your page following and to increase your engagement is Facebook recently brought in new restrictions regarding competitions. And this is not something that they have necessarily widely published, but it is a fact. And if you go onto their back end and into their information, you'll find this. But basically, they've brought in new regulations in terms of competitions. So you can now no longer run a competition and say that to enter the competition, that person has to like your page, they have to share the content to their own page, and they have to, you know, tag a friend below. You can't do that anymore. So what we'd call like and share competitions are now deemed by Facebook as not appropriate. Or Facebook illegal is the phrase that they would use. The difficulty with that is not everyone that does that and crosses those boundaries will be penalized, but some people who do will be penalized and will either experience a temporary ban on their Facebook page or a complete removal of the Facebook page, which actually happened to one of our clients and was awful. So it's definitely something to be aware of. And just to clarify, that was not the fault of our business. In case you're thinking that we caused them to lose their page, that was not the case. But what we experienced with them was there was no way for them to get their page back. There was no grace from Facebook towards that. It was just gone forever. So even if you see your competitors and you see other people doing those competitions, please avoid doing them, because it can result at some point in being penalized, and it could be worse than just getting your page temporarily banned. You could permanently lose it, like was the case for our client. So those are some of the reasons why Facebook is not great, because you can't, or not necessarily as good as other social media platforms. So it can be very difficult as a new business to grow your following and to grow your brand awareness if you're not already established back when things were maybe a little bit easier. If that is the case, and if you're really struggling with brand awareness, and that might be a question that you have, as I'm on Facebook at the minute, I'm really struggling with brand awareness. One free way you can do that is going out of your way to make sure that you are tagging people, tagging other businesses where it's relevant, and not just like hassling them, but tagging someone. You know, if somebody came in to the shop that day, or they, you know, attended the attraction, or a particular business supplies you with the eggs that you use for your brunch, or whatever that might be. If you're then tagging those businesses, they are more likely to share your content on their own page, and then that will result in you getting seen by more people, and then hopefully more page likes, more engagement, and everything else. On the other side of things, what I tend to go down the line of is advertising, which is essentially what Facebook is trying to get you to do by making things more difficult. They want you to spend money on page likes campaigns, on awareness campaigns, all those other things, which we obviously aren't talking about today. But if you are really struggling, and if you are currently an account that is posting consistently and you're posting stuff that is of value to your users, but you just find no one is seeing it, no one is engaging with it, it might be worth considering Facebook advertising. So with that being said, a couple of different best practices to do with Facebook, and then we'll move very quickly on to the other platforms because we're going to be here all day. So best practices, make sure that your images are properly sized for Facebook. So if you are posting on Facebook and you're posting the wrong dimensions, you'll see this on other people's platforms. It will like appear with these little colored bars down the side. It doesn't necessarily look professional. So make sure your images are the right size for Facebook. Vary your post format, so you have the option to post links, videos, images, blogs, whatever you want. So vary that as often as possible, both for the sake of providing variation for your followers, but also to experiment and to see what does well, what does better than others. Pin your post. So you have the option to pin a post to the top of your page. This is particularly relevant, I find anyway, for hospitality and tourism industry. So for example, if you post your menu, you're a restaurant and a coffee shop, post your menu, pin it to the top of the page. Every time someone comes onto your page, they'll be able to easily find your menu. If you are closing for Christmas, post about your closing hours and pin that to the top of your page. If you are doing some kind of special offer for water sports or for the spa or for whatever that might be, and you have special offers and you want to, that's maybe running for like 2 months or something, and you want to make sure people can always see that even though you're posting more content, pin it at the top of your page. Other things, master timing for your audience. Although the Facebook algorithm has removed that chronological side of things, you still might find that if you post at a particular time of day, you experience more engagement than if you post at a different time of day. Generally, in my experience, for the majority of pages that I post content for, I tend to find that is around 7 o'clock at night, but that is not always the case for every business. So learn what works for your own specific audience, not what everyone else tells you works for them. As I'm saying, then another point, test and learn what works for your audience. So try all the different post types, try images of food, images of your staff, images of your customers, whatever that might be, lots of different things, and find what works and then replicate and do more of what is actually working for your business, and make it actionable. So give users an action. We call this a call to action. The more you can put a call to action in, the better. That might be a direct call to action, such as ring to book your table, or email us to get your tickets now and reserve your spot. Or it could be a much softer call to action, such as, who would love to stay here? Tag your friend that you would love to, stay in this pod with, or something along those lines, that you're not asking someone to hand over their money or make a purchase. You're just asking them to engage with your content. So always try and have a next step for that customer. And that really applies to every social media platform, but specifically with Facebook. And then finally, focus on connecting and not just selling. Like we were saying, engaging and listening is one of those 4 pillars. So spend time on Facebook, commenting, engaging, interacting, sending messages, being supportive, whatever that might look like for you as a business. Spend time and set aside time to do that. The last thing now that we're going to talk about for each platform is the different features that they have. We don't have time, unfortunately, as much as I would love to talk about it. We don't have time to talk about all of those different features and what they are. So all I can say is that they exist. So there is Facebook Live, which allows you to go live and to talk to your followers live, like I'm talking to you right now. You can tag people, like I've touched on already. You can tag other businesses. You can create reels and stories, which are the newest features anyway on Facebook. They're not particularly brand new anymore, but they are the newest. They allow you to share short stories, which are pieces of content that's live for 24 hours, if you don't already know that. And you can also share reels, which is very similar to just sharing a video, but it is always portrait in its appearance. And we'll talk a little bit more about reels whenever we go on to Instagram, but they are the same on the Facebook and Instagram platform. And finally, Facebook Shop. This probably will not be relevant to the majority of people in the tourism and hospitality industry. If you are accommodation, you're not going to be selling your accommodation on Facebook Shop, but there is an option on Facebook to upload your catalog and to sell your products directly through Facebook, but I know that's probably not relevant to the majority of people on this call. So hopefully your brain is not too fried. That is Facebook. Secondly, then, moving a lot faster through these ones, is Instagram. So key thing to point about Instagram, if it is a platform you're not familiar with, Instagram is a highly visual platform. And it also allows you to build a more personal connection with your customers. So if you don't remember anything else about Instagram when you're choosing what platform you want to be on, remember that Instagram is highly visual and there's a focus on building a community on Instagram. So with that being said, what is Instagram good for? So Instagram is great for connecting with a younger demographic audience. However, with that being said, the current fastest growing audience on Instagram is actually males within, now I'm going to get the age wrong, but it's either within the age of 24 to 44 or 34 to 44. So around that age group anyway, is actually currently the fastest growing age group. So, no, sorry, 34 to 55 for males. So despite the fact that generally Instagram is a younger demographic, currently the fastest growing group is actually males of a slightly older age. So just bear that in mind and always keep up to date with what demographics are growing on what platforms, because that might change. So that's something to bear in mind based off what business you are and what platform you might want to be on. Second thing, like I touched on, it is great for sharing high quality visuals. So on Instagram, we're going to talk about the features in a minute, but on Instagram, there is your own personal feed where you will share all of your images and your videos. There is then your stories where you share things that are only live for 24 hours. And then there are reels, which is video content. So in terms of the feed, in its nature, Instagram feed, especially for a business, the images need to be quite high quality, quite polished. That does not mean that you need a professional camera and that all the images that you take should be, professionally photographed and you need to pay someone to do them. That's not the case. Just make sure that the quality of the content that you're posting is good and that you're happy with it, and that it is content that is going to be helpful and relevant to people after tomorrow, and not just serve a purpose for that particular day and that particular moment, if that makes sense. So think of it as a photo album that is showing off the best qualities of your business, and it's going to make someone want to come and stay, and also showing off the qualities of your business and creating a brand awareness through branding and through showing off the different various features that you have, whatever that might be. So Instagram is a place that allows you maybe to get a little bit more creative than Facebook, for example. Another thing then, like I was kind of touching on, it's a really great way to give users an insight into what they can expect whenever they come to visit your venue, your coffee shop, your restaurant, your attraction, your accommodation, whatever that might be. So that is through, like we were saying, really good, high quality imagery, but also through that stories feature. So stories, the purpose of stories kind of was brought in to allow people to share content on a regular basis that is not to that same level of kind of slightly more polished quality. So you can just whip your phone out and, video yourself chatting, or kind of take a wee quick video around the room if you're maybe setting up your decorations for Christmas at this particular time, or maybe you're planning out a new program you want to offer to people, or whatever that might be. It's a lot more behind the scenes in nature, but again, all that kind of quick sharing of content is a great way to give people an insight into your business and what they can expect, and to kind of as well get to know the personalities of yourself, your staff, and the ethos behind your business as well. Another thing that is good for is sharing user-generated content, just like with Facebook. While we don't have the option on Instagram to leave reviews, people can and people do post their own reviews on Instagram anyway, just by posting in a post, they post themselves, or in a story and tagging that business. So for example, if I went and I stayed at a pod or a cabin near the loch, I might then come back from my time, post about it on live story with an image of the place that I stayed, and tag that business and say we had a great time when we stayed. That's user generated content. So it is great for that, because people here on Instagram do tend to do that and do tend to post and to share about the places that they are at that time, either through stories or through their posts. The other thing then, like we've touched on already, it is great for building community and building community through engagement. So again, just posting, commenting on each other's posts, reacting to stories, sending messages, following people here in your industry, all of that kind of stuff. And really big focus on Instagram is building community and getting to know people. And that can be a really great way then to build customer loyalty and to build through that then word of mouth of people recommending you and sending more people through to your business and building more of a community. And it continues to go. The other thing then, which I'm sure you've heard of before, is influencers. So generally, in terms of all social media platforms, Instagram and TikTok is where you're going to find influencers. So if you are an accommodation or an attraction or anything like that, it is worth considering influencers or micro influencers. And we're going to touch on that very briefly at the end when we talk about kind of current trends. But Instagram and TikTok are the platforms to be using if you are considering using influencers as part of your strategy. We're going to talk about strategy in a second. Finally then, or second, for what could be better on Instagram. So on Instagram, in your captions, so if you are sharing an image or a video and then you're writing your piece of text to go alongside that post or that video, you cannot share a link. So if you are accommodation, to go back to that one, and you are saying, we have a limited time, offer for the Christmas break, click here to book your tickets. You can't do that on an Instagram post. You can't say, click here, click the link, whatever. It's not going to work. It's not going to hyperlink whenever you post that. So you can only share a link in your bio or in your stories using a sticker called link, but we just don't have time to talk about all these different features. But in your bio, you can share a link through to your website. You can only share one link. So there is a free tool that I use and really, really recommend called Linktree. So it's like Linktree like this, with a dot in between the R and the E, but if you search Linktree, it'll come up. Basically what it is, it's a free tool, allows you to set up like a free landing page for your business where it will give you your own specific link. You can put in your bio, people can then click on that link, and then it will bring up however many options that you put in there to click through to specific things. So maybe you have a specific winter offer that you want to promote. Maybe you want to have a separate section for, here's just our website. Maybe you have a restaurant within your hotel and you want to direct people through to here is where you click for the restaurant. All of those kind of things. So Linktree is a way around that, but that is one of the downsides of Instagram. Second one then is if you struggle to curate imagery for your business, and that is to a good quality. And again, we're not talking like paid professional quality, just high enough quality content. You'll notice yourself whenever you start to follow people and interact with people on Instagram, you know what we mean by that level of quality. If that's something that you feel like you're really going to struggle with, it's not, with whatever industry you're in or whatever your time and your resources are, you're not going to be able to be photographing things and getting imagery that you're happy with to be posting, then maybe Instagram is not the platform for you. Maybe you would rather use something like Twitter or something like Facebook. So I'm going to take a drink of water because I've been talking for a very long time. Okay, so best practices for Instagram. Like we were saying, maintain a consistent feed of high quality visuals. And one thing that we'd say whenever we're kind of specifically looking at Instagram and doing Instagram training is we'd say focus on what we call your grid aesthetic. Sounds very vain, but it is really important. So basically what we mean is when you go and you look at your profile and the content you're posting on Instagram, is it cohesive? Does it work well together? Does it show off your brand? And try and maintain that and keep that consistent. Second thing then, pay attention to what your audience wants. So basically, like I was saying with Facebook, and this is the overarching theme through all of your social media platforms, you're posting for what your followers want to see, not what you want to share. So pay attention to what gets good engagement on your page or else on your competitors' pages as well. What content do people want to see? Next one then, again, very similar to Facebook, focus on the timing. What time of day gets good engagement? Sometimes on Instagram, for me anyway, tends to be a little bit later. So maybe on Facebook, I'll post at 7 and then on Instagram, I'll post at 8 o'clock, at least for the businesses that I might post content on. But again, that will be different for your business. So pay attention to what works for you. Tell visual stories. So pay attention to the imagery that you're posting. Make sure it is, telling a story. It is relevant. It is important. And it's not just a photograph of the sky with no context. And the next thing then, use hashtags. Unfortunately, we do not have time to go in and to talk all about hashtags and what they are, but if you do have questions about hashtags, we can talk about those at the end in the Q&A. But definitely use hashtags as a way to boost your content discovery. While Facebook does not have a discover page, Instagram does. So if you are sharing content and using hashtags that are relevant to your industry, relevant to your location as well, so really important piece of advice that I have for tourism and hospitality industry. Always in your posts that you are posting, in your reels that you are posting, make sure that you are using hashtags that are relevant to your area, even if that's just Northern Ireland. So hashtag discover NI, hashtag love Ballymena, hashtag Loch Ness, whatever that might be. Make sure you're using hashtags that are relevant to your industry, and also make sure you are tagging your location. That might not necessarily even be your specific address you're in at that particular moment. It might just be Ballymena, or it might be Antrim, or it might be Belfast, or whatever that is. But if you are tagging the location, making it clear to Instagram that that's where you are, they are more likely to share your content with people who are also in that area, whether that be like the town or the village or the city, also just in Northern Ireland in general. While it is really great to go viral and be seen by lots and lots of people, it's only helpful if those people who are going to turn up in your restaurant or turn up at your attraction or stay in your accommodation. So just bear that in mind whenever you are using hashtags. Make sure they're relevant to you. And if you have more questions, we can chat about that at the end. Okay, so make the most of trending features and challenges. This is more specifically important when it comes to TikTok, but with Instagram as well, they are constantly bringing in new features and new things, and don't let that intimidate you. What I say is always remember, if something comes in and it's new to everybody. So if you're like, oh, I've just got used to Instagram and now they've brought on this new thing, everyone else is learning it too, and everyone else is starting at the scratch as well, so don't worry. But do jump on board with anything that is new. So at the minute, really, it's kind of still just Reels, which isn't really that new. It happened 3 years ago, but it's kind of the most recent feature. So make sure that you make use of Reels if you're on Instagram. If you don't know how to use them, we unfortunately don't have time to teach you today because that might take a while. But all I'll say is it's not as complicated as what it might seem, and go on and have a play around and don't let it intimidate you. Correctly post URLs and links. So like I was saying, you cannot put a URL or a link in your caption. So make sure that you're not sharing links in your caption. It doesn't look professional. People can click on it and it can be frustrating. Think about posts versus stories. So posts should be things that is evergreen content in nature. So sharing, if an event happened and you're reflecting on how great it was, that's definitely something that is evergreen content. But if you're saying, we've only got 2 tickets left to this particular event, that's probably not evergreen content and would be better on your stories. If you post in your story and say, we've got 2 tickets left, here's a link, get them now, they're going to go in the next 10 minutes. That's better for stories. Hopefully that makes sense. And then finally, make use of user-generated content. So if someone tags you in a post, if they tag you in a story, share that content to your own stories. And then if you know what highlights are, then save that in your highlights. We're now going to go on to key features, and highlights is within that. Just trying to move very fast to everything. So key features, stories, like I was saying, they are the little videos and photographs that are less polished in their nature. They're only live for 24 hours unless you save them in your highlights. Highlights are something that you will see. If you don't know what they are already, you will find them on other people's personal profiles or on business profiles. They're the little circles that appear below the bio description. And that is, I definitely recommend for all hospitality and tourism industry. If you're on Instagram, definitely have highlights. In your highlights, that can be as basic as just, here is how you find us, here is how you book our attractions, and here are some positive reviews from people who have stayed with us or who have used our attractions in the past. Highlights are a great place to save content that is informational and that is helpful and will always stay at the top of your page for someone who is new and is visiting. So a really simple example, on a coffee shop, on a restaurant, you'll see that quite a lot. So you'll see one highlight that's like, here's our location and our opening times, and another one that's like, here is our current menu and what we currently have available, and another one might be, here are our favorite customers or something like that. So highlights are really important. They allow you to save your stories. It means they're no longer only active for 24 hours. You can save them for a lot longer. That does not mean, if you're saving them to your highlights, it does not mean that they need to be higher in terms of the quality. Higher quality is only kept for your posts. Your things that are saved to highlights can still be relaxed in their nature. The other thing then is Reels. We have touched on this briefly, but if you're still not sure what Reels are, they are essentially TikToks, is the best way that I can describe them. So generally lots of bits of video content mashed together to form one video. They are usually educational or entertaining in their nature. They allow businesses to show a more humorous side or a more insightful side of their business, and they allow you to get creative. The last thing then is shoppable posts. It's the same as Facebook. You can upload a catalog and allow people to shop through Instagram, but you can also specifically tag your products. I don't know if that's going to be beneficial to anybody who is within this industry, but if you do sell products, you can post a photograph of it and specifically tag that product like you would tag a person, which is great. Okay, deep breath because we've been through a lot. Twitter. Okay. We're now moving on to Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok, where there's a little bit less to say about these platforms than maybe Facebook and Instagram, because they are sort of the big major platforms. What I will say now that we have touched on Facebook and Instagram, the reason we're going through these is that when we're chatting about strategy, you might be starting to think, okay, this is a platform that I might want to use for my business, or I've been using this platform, but it's maybe actually not that helpful for my business. If you're in a position after we go through all of these where you're like, I still don't really know what platform I should be on for my business, Facebook and Instagram are great places to start. For LinkedIn, as we'll see in a minute, it will be very obvious if you should be on LinkedIn. For Twitter, there are specific requirements that I probably recommend, and same for TikTok too. If you're not sure, Facebook and Instagram, great place to start. With that being said, we'll jump into Twitter. So Twitter primarily is a place to allow users to share their thoughts with their followers. That is essentially the point of Twitter. It's somewhere to share your news, entertainment, and obviously a marketing tool for businesses, but essentially it's a place to share news and to keep people up to date. Twitter is great for networking. It's great for making connections. It's great for getting to know people, and it's great for getting to know how people think as well and discussing different topics. It's also one of the social media platforms that is actually great for interacting with a male audience. At the minute, the statistics for Twitter is 70.4% of people on Twitter are actually male. So this can be a great place to interact if your audience is predominantly male. Second thing then, it's great for sharing short, timely information. So I'm sure you know already, Twitter has a character limit, and that is one of the defining features of Twitter. And what it is a tweet in terms of it is a short piece of information you put out into the world, and it's always very timely in terms of the information. So the purpose of a tweet is to be timely and to be relevant. So this might not be the best platform if you are a restaurant, say, or a coffee shop, and there's not really anything particularly new that's happening within your restaurant or your coffee shop, apart from like maybe a special or like a different bun, which would work and make sense on Instagram and Facebook, but maybe that's not something you're like going to be sharing on Twitter. Twitter is good for, where I've seen it used well is maybe, I suppose this is less relevant if you're MEA, but if you're slightly higher up towards the C, I've seen it used well for if you are in water sports and maybe you're out on the ocean, you might be keeping people updated with here are the weather conditions and here is what it's currently looking like right now, and here is, you know, we're expecting to go out today, we're not expecting to go out today. Or if you're golf as well, that can again be a great thing. You can say, you know, at the minute, you know, if you're grass, you might say, you know, at the minute we are flooded, you know, or buggies aren't out, all of that kind of information. You know, this is the current weather, it's great for golfing, it's not great for golfing. Could be good for like timely information. It can also be great for sharing links, videos, and imagery. So it used to be much more the case where Twitter was very much focused on just that tweet and that piece of information. Now videos and imagery are very much widely used. So the same imagery that you might use for a Facebook post, like a graphic, will also work on Twitter as well. So for example, if you're posting about an event, so if you are in an industry where you regularly host events, Twitter can definitely be a great place for you to be. So you can tweet about that event, you can tweet about the ticket sales, you can tweet about how many tickets are left, you can give live timely tweets of, you know, we've just started, we're so excited, this many people have arrived, you know, this thing has sold out, this person's now going on stage. You can provide timely, up-to-date pieces of information. That will also work well on Instagram stories, if you are on Instagram or Facebook. Okay, so where it could be better, obviously it could be a lot better when it comes to sharing long form content. If you're wanting to educate people, if you're wanting to provide a little bit more information for people, Twitter is not the place to do that. It's also not great for older age groups. It is predominantly a younger age group still now. On Twitter, and it's also not great for evergreen content. So really the purpose of a tweet, the lifespan generally of a tweet is 20 minutes. So it is not a great place for sharing content that you want to be hanging around for a long time. Again, Facebook, Instagram, better places for that. Also LinkedIn, but mainly Facebook and Instagram, better places for evergreen content. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea as to how Twitter could be useful depending on kind of that area of tourism or hospitality that you might be in. Best practices on Twitter, make sure that you are, if you are someone who maybe, the reason I always put this in, if you're someone who maybe created Twitter way back when it first started and you just thought it's business, you had to be on it, and you never used it, but now you're thinking, oh, actually, yeah, that is really relevant for my business. Go in and check your Twitter profile, make sure your link is still relevant, make sure the information is still relevant. Cover images didn't used to be a thing, they are now, so if you don't have one in there, make sure that you have that in there. Make sure your profile photograph is your logo of your business, and that applies to all your other social media platforms too. We haven't touched on that, but make sure your cover image is relevant and make sure your profile photograph is your logo and that it is clear, it is not pixelated, and it's high quality and it's not cut off anywhere. Okay, so always post your media directly on Twitter. Don't just link out. So don't just constantly be posting, you know, here's a blog, here's another blog, here's another blog. You need to be posting the actual information within Twitter itself for people to engage and to interact, or at least to see the best engagement and interaction. Be relatable and not salesy. So Twitter is not a place to be constantly promoting and selling your services. It is a place to share your insight and to educate and to interact. Don't copy and paste content from other channels, because the way in which you're going to speak on Twitter is very different to how you might speak on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Get involved with trends. So if there are, I don't know, memes or hashtags that are trending, you'll always be able to see on the right hand side of Twitter what is trending at that particular moment of time. It's a great idea to jump on that trend by using that particular hashtag. That will increase your engagement and your reach. Reduce your response times where you can. Twitter is very much a quick fire platform, so make sure you have the time to commit to that platform if it's something you're going to look into. And then finally, look at your competitors and see what your competitors are doing. So Twitter can be a place that can be slightly harder to sort of think of a strategy for because of how timely it is in its nature. So have a look and see what your competitors are doing. What are they sharing if they're on Twitter? If none of your competitors are on Twitter, then should you be on Twitter? Is that an opportunity, or is there a reason why your competitors aren't there? Finally, then, the features that are on Twitter: spaces, hashtags, and polls. So hashtags, we know what those are. They are very widely used on Twitter. That is how they know what is trending. So you'll see the trending things, the right hand side, they will all be hashtags. So it will be what hashtags are trending. Polls, just like with Facebook and with Instagram as well, but to use them on Instagram, it has to be a sticker within your story. Unfortunately, again, we don't have time to talk about all these features. But on Twitter, anyone can set up a poll and can publish it, and people can vote on that poll. So it could be a good way to get information if you have an engaged group of followers. Maybe if you want to see, you know, what acts do you want to see at our next live event, or, you know, what offers do you want to see in the hotel, or whatever that might be. Spaces are kind of like lives on Facebook, but instead of seeing your face, they'll just hear your voice, and you can have lots of people join in on this space, and people can kind of chat. So it's essentially somewhere to kind of chat about ideas and educate and all of that kind of thing. So if you are in an industry where you are focusing on trying to educate people and get people to understand things, then Twitter can be a great place to be. If you are in the industry of providing entertainment for people, or you don't have like timely, relevant news related updates, Twitter might not be the best place for you to be. Okay, moving very quickly on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, there's not too much to say here in terms of discovering if it's the right platform for you. If you are a B2B business, you should be on LinkedIn. If you're not a B2B business, you don't need to worry so much about being on LinkedIn. You're probably not going to see the same success there that you would see on another platform. With that being said, it is great for networking with other businesses and with other professionals. It's great for lead generation if you are a B2B business. It's great for hiring as well. So even if you are B2C, but you're looking to hire, maybe you are a constantly growing company, LinkedIn is a great place to advertise for jobs. Fourth then, it's great, obviously, and essential for reaching a B2B audience. It's the only social media platform where you're going to get a solely captivated B2B audience. Next thing then, it's great for sharing educational content. So like Twitter, but with the allowance of long form content. This is really great for sharing your knowledge and for educating people. Whenever we are sharing content on social media, we want to focus on adding value to people. So educational content is a great way to add value. It's also great, like I was saying, for long form content. So for sharing big ideas, writing blogs. You can write blogs specifically within LinkedIn itself, as well as just sharing a link. So it's very much designed for that. It could be better, obviously, from a B2C perspective, but that's not the purpose of the platform, so that's okay. And it could be better with messaging and with connections. What I mean by that is you will, and I'm sure you'll experience this yourself, if you're on LinkedIn, you will experience a lot of spam from people who are sending you messages, trying to sell you your services, all of those kind of things. So what I would say is, if you are on LinkedIn and you're trying to connect with B2B businesses, learn from the mistakes of the people that you receive messages from. Don't feel like you have to jump on that bandwagon and be reaching out to people without first making a connection with them and being a little bit spammy in your nature. Try and avoid that if you can. And then also, there's just not very many features on LinkedIn. But again, the purpose of it is to connect B2B businesses and network. There's probably not so much a focus for us at the minute in the tourism and hospitality industry. Best practice for LinkedIn. So if you are on LinkedIn as an individual and you're advertising your business, you need to have a company page. So set up a company page. Make sure the content you're posting on LinkedIn is quality in content. Don't just be posting for the sake of it. Try building showcase pages. That's one of the features in LinkedIn that allows you to kind of give a little bit more insight about what goes on in your business. Don't use stock photographs, use real images, include calls to action in your content. Use information from other people's articles and industry news. So again, showing your educational understanding, showing that you're staying up to date with what's going on in your industry, sharing those resources, sharing what you've learned, but referring back to the people that you've learned them from is really important. Stay consistent in how often you're posting. That's important for every social media platform. And plan and follow a schedule, also important for every social media platform. Features they have, again, polls, connection messages. So as I'm sure you've experienced, if you're on LinkedIn, if I am trying to add you as a friend, I can send you a connection message within that, so you can see why I want to add you as a friend. You don't get that with, LinkedIn, Instagram, or not LinkedIn, sorry, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, very specific to LinkedIn. And then lastly, showcase pages, which I've touched on already. Finally, then, we've got through all social media platforms. We're still going to talk about strategy. TikTok. So TikTok is currently the leading short form video platform. The focus on TikTok, and this little quote is taken specifically from TikTok itself, which is why it's very cheesy. It says, where realness is celebrated and trends are born. So that's very much TikTok's thing, is we're all about showing real and behind the scenes and who we are, and it's not polished in nature and all these things, but it's also very much driven by trends and what is going on. TikTok for you might be a word that you've heard quite a lot. It might be intimidating for you, and therefore when you hear it, you might roll your eyes. You might think, I don't want to be on this platform. What I would say, which is good news, not every business needs to be on TikTok, and because it is the growing platform, you probably are told constantly all the time, oh, are you on TikTok? Are you on TikTok? It might not necessarily be right for your business, and we're going to talk about why in a minute, but what I say is please don't feel like you have to be on TikTok just because it's the most recent platform. We very much want to make sure that you're going on platforms that you have the time for it, the resources for it, and the content for it that's going to be relevant, and that you're reaching the right audience. So obviously TikTok is good for reaching a younger demographic. If your audience is people over the age of 40, you do not need to be on TikTok. You should probably focus on Facebook. Yes, you probably will reach some people. There are people, of course, over the age of 40 on TikTok, but that is not your predominant platform you're going to be aiming for. So do not feel pressured to be on TikTok if it doesn't feel right for your business. It is very much focusing on sharing educational or entertaining content. It is not for being salesy and for promoting your services. It is for education and for entertainment. It is also really great for showing a lighter, more humorous side of your business, which again appeals to a younger age group as well. So if you remember maybe a business, maybe you're in the accommodation industry and you are finding that your age group is just getting progressively older and you're not bringing in any younger ones with that, going to the road of TikTok can actually maybe be a great way to humanize your business and to show the lighter side of it as well, and start to bring in a younger age group to that accommodation or to that restaurant or whatever that might be. So it is good from that point of view. It is great for producing consistent video content without the need for it to be polished and professional. So as we've seen from that quote at the start, it's focused on realness. So it's all about showing what it actually looks like, not making everything, professional and beautifully lit and, professionally filmed and all of that. And it's also great for reaching new audiences through what they have called the For You feed. So if I'm on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, and I'm scrolling through my content, it's going to be predominantly content for people that I currently choose to follow. TikTok is the opposite of that. The majority of people will be scrolling through what's called the For You feed, which is content, yes, of people they follow, but also just as much people they don't follow, and where the TikTok algorithm will think, okay, this content is relevant for you, so we're going to share it. That gives you a great opportunity as a business to get in front of new people. Where it could be better, similar to Instagram, sharing links. So all the links you're sharing need to be in your bio, just like with Instagram. It can be very time consuming. So all of the content you share on TikTok has to be video content. It's not images, it's not links, it's not text. So it has to be video, and that can be time consuming. So that is a major downside for your business if you're short on time as a resource. And it is not great for immediate sales and building a consistent community, because we're kind of focusing on that For You page and new reach and new engagement. It's not necessarily that same focus of building that like lasting community that you might find on Instagram or Facebook. Best practices for TikTok: post regularly and be consistent. If you're going to do one video on TikTok and never use it again, it's probably not the platform for you. Make sure the content you're creating is original. Have fun with all the different special effects and trending features that they have. Use multiple shots within your video, because that is the general idea of TikTok. Embrace new music. So use whatever music is there. Try and use trending music as well. Comment on other people's videos, engage, just like with all the other social media platforms. Don't be afraid to show your sense of humor. We definitely encourage showing your sense of humor on TikTok. It's an important thing to be looking at. Have a look at what other brands and competitors are doing. Follow the trends. Then in terms of key features, trending features is one of the key things to be aware of. So whether that is a trending filter within a video, whether it's trending music, a trending hashtag, whatever, everything is driven by trends on TikTok. The For You page, like we've touched on, is a key feature, and then hashtags as well, just like other social media platforms, is a key feature. Okay, so we've talked a lot about social media. You'll be glad to know that that is the most in-depth part that we need to talk about. The last kind of little section before I hand over to Chris is developing a content strategy. So we have talked quite generally, and we could say so much more about every social media platform that we want to talk about tonight. So we've talked about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Hopefully that has started to give you a little bit of an understanding of this platform might be more useful for my business. This platform maybe actually isn't worth my time as a business, so I don't feel like I need to worry about that platform. That is part of developing your social media strategy as a business. So we're going to look at now what are the other elements of that are involved. So first things first, establish your goals. Like we've touched on already, what are the goals for you on social media? Is it generating leads? Is it generating sales, whether that's ticket sales, accommodation booking? Is it increasing traffic through to your website or through to a specific page on your website? Is it growing your audience or your brand awareness? Is it increasing your followers? Is it improving engagement? There are so many goals. they will be specific to your business. So decide for you, why do I want to be on social media? What can I achieve from it? What are the goals? What I want to get out of it? Second thing then is define your target audience. So this little image on the right hand side talks about all the different things that we can think about, just a few actually, different things we can think about. So demographics, what age are they? What is their gender? What is their education? What's their income level? Behaviors, what products do they use? What information do they read? Where do they get their information from? What do they do on a daily basis? Where do they drink their tea or their coffee? All of that kind of content. Geographically, where are they? Are you in the tourism and hospitality industry? Are you focusing on people within Northern Ireland? Are you focusing on people in South of Ireland? Are you focusing on UK, or are you focusing on a global audience? Who is it that you're trying to reach, and what platform are you going to find them on? What are their challenges? What are their pain points? What does your business offer that eases that pain point? So is it, are you a business that does delivery and collection for your restaurant? Do you answer that pain point of coming in from work and not having time to cook? Or are you an attraction? Do you offer that pain point of, we're a family and we can't think of anything unique to do whenever we're on holiday or whenever it's the weekend? Also, I apologize because I am dosed with the cold tonight. So sorry that I keep choking. Okay, so there are a lot of things you can think about in terms of your target audience. So what I would do and what I would recommend is, after this call or when you have time, set aside an hour, take a piece of paper, take a notebook. First of all, think, what are my goals? Write down the goals you want for business. Then think, okay, who are my target audience and who am I trying to reach? Who are they? Where are they? How can I reach them? What are their challenges? What are their interests? How do they want me to interact with them? Then when you've written out and had to think about that, have a look at your competitors. So on whatever channels, whether that is on their website, whether that is subscribing to their emails, and then obviously, of course, on their social media. So who are your competitors, or even just people who inspire you in other parts of the world who offer the same thing that you do? Take note of what content they share on social media. How often do they post? What times of day do they post? How do they engage with their users? And how often do they engage with their users? And what industry hashtags do they use? So you can get a lot of really, really valuable content from having a look at your competitors and seeing what are they posting, when are they posting, and what content are they posting. And then just because they post it doesn't mean you should. Have a look at that. They've done it already for you, so they've done the work. So have a look, see what they've posted, and see, did it get good engagement, and did it seem to do well for them? If it didn't, it's probably not worth you doing it. So research your competitors. Fourth thing then, so once you've done all of that, you've had a research, you know who your audience is, you know what your goals are, think about those platforms. We've talked about the benefits of each platform. So decide for you, do I want to be on one platform and one platform only and put all my time and effort into that? Excuse me. Or do I want to be on 4 different platforms because I actually have a lot more time and resources than what I thought I did, and I can repurpose a lot of that content for different platforms? Whatever that might be, there is no right or wrong number of platforms you should be on. It is whatever you have the time and the resources for. So decide for you, what platforms do you want to be on. If there are certain platforms that you are on that you no longer want to be on, remove those or make them private so that there's not just like content up there forever that hasn't been updated since 2017, because it doesn't look great. So if you choose to no longer be on a platform, make that private or remove that page or hide that page. So that's choosing your platforms. The next thing then is plan your posting times and your frequency. So on every social media channel, you will have access to your insights. Your insights will tell you when your followers are most active online. This is a little screenshot of LinkedIn and of Facebook and their insights. So you can see in here when people are most active, and then you can start to plan, okay, I'm going to post at this particular time of day, or I'm going to post at that particular time of day and on this day of the week. So that is your strategy for your posting times and for your frequency. In terms of your frequency, this is generally what we recommend to businesses. There is, again, no right or wrong way to do this, but what we would generally say is on Facebook, what you're aiming for is 3 to 5 times a week. That's just sort of recommended best practice, and then any other ad hoc posts within that as and when they are required. So if you are, something has just come out in the news that's relevant to your industry and you want to share that, that's an ad hoc post. Instagram, 2 to 3 planned posts supported by 1 to 2 reels a week and daily stories. So you're seeing how, 2 to 3 posts a week on Instagram doesn't sound that much, but also try and keep your stories active and also try and aim for 1 to 2 reels a week. So you have to be really realistic about what you have the time for and how much time you need to commit to these different channels to maintain a consistent posting strategy. Thirdly, then Twitter. So Twitter is much more fast-paced. Like I was saying, tweets do not exist for very long, so you're trying to tweet like at least 2 to 3 times a day. You want to be active on that platform all the time, engaging all the time, jumping on whatever is relevant to your industry. LinkedIn is a lot less, so 1 to 2 times a week is what we're aiming for with LinkedIn, and that's really it. TikTok, the recommendation from TikTok itself is 1 to 3 times a day, which is a lot of content. You're never going to be able to post 1 to 3 times a day as a business. So I'd say once a day to still be within TikTok's recommendations, but probably what's realistic is once a week, if we're being honest. So that's something to bear in mind. If you really want to see success on TikTok, you have to really put some time and effort in there. Those are just what we recommend. If you are not capable of doing that, do not freak out and think that you can't use social media because you can't post 5 times a week on Facebook. That's just what we recommend. If for you, what you're capable of doing within your resources is once a week, that's okay. Make sure that whatever you decide stays consistent. It is better to post once a week on Facebook every week than to post 5 times in 1 week and then not post anything for 3 weeks, because that will affect your standing within the algorithm. So it's better to stay consistent and post less than post loads in one go and then vanish off the face of the earth for a few weeks. So do whatever is realistic for you. This is what we recommend, but do whatever is within your abilities. Finally, then, generate your content ideas. So whenever we're doing this, we tend to break your content down into 3 pillars. 3 really good pillars to kind of work with is who you are, so who you are as a business, who your staff are, what you get up to behind the scenes, awards you have as a business, all of that. Second one might be your knowledge within your industry, and your last one might be promoting your products or your services. That's a very general overview of content ideas. But what I would say is have a think about those 3 different areas. In that notebook where you're writing down all those other ideas, start to write down all the different ideas that you might have. So, if that's like a meet the team post, interview with a team member, behind the scenes, this award that we have, sharing our knowledge on this particular service that we offer, sharing our knowledge on, good coffee or whatever that might be. Write down all of those different ideas and just don't limit yourself. Just keep writing down all of those ideas until you literally can't think of any more. Doesn't matter if you come back to them and think they're a bad idea in the future. Once you have done all of that, you've done all your planning and you're starting to think of different ideas for your social media channels, draw up some sort of content calendar. This does not have to be an intimidating thing. It can just be something you create in an Excel spreadsheet or in sheets online or whatever that might be. In that, you're going to think about what content pillar am I talking about? What of those 3 content pillars am I focusing on? What platform am I going to post on? What is the idea that I have? You might even simplify this compared to what is here right now. You might literally just say, okay, I'm going to post on Facebook and Instagram. So you might have Facebook, Instagram, and then you might just say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then, on Monday, here's an idea I can put in. On Friday, here's an idea I can put in. On the next week, here's a different idea, and here's a different idea. And just start to populate all of that with general ideas. Then once I have done that, I have those general ideas in there, then I would start to go, okay, so these are the ideas I have for this month. I'm now going to sit down, write those captions, create that content, and then I'm going to schedule that content. So to recap strategy, this is like your little to-do list in terms of coming up with a strategy for your business. Establish your goals, define your target audience, research your competitors, choose your platforms, plan your posting time and how often you want to post, come up with loads of different ideas, and then start to draw up a content calendar and plan and publish your content. Okay, so lastly, before I hand over to Chris, here are just a couple of key tools for social media. So they're all in here. We don't have time to go through them all, but you'll get a copy of these slides and there's a link for each one of these. These are all free except for Video Hive, which is a platform where you can purchase stock video from. However, if you're familiar with Canva, or if you have at least heard of it before, Canva is a platform that you can use that is free, and I highly recommend it. If you're going to use any tool, definitely check out Canva. It's a free place where you can put together content that you can share on social media and emails and leaflets, everything and anything. But they have a massive bank of stock imagery and stock video, which is free to use for your business and for business purposes as well, which is great. Creator Studio is a free scheduling tool that's within Facebook and Instagram. Hootsuite and Later are also scheduling tools. They have a paid version, but they also have a free version as well. So it's definitely worth checking out if you want a scheduling tool and you're thinking about using, TikTok or Twitter or LinkedIn, and not Facebook or Instagram. If you're just using Facebook and Instagram, Creator Studio is a great choice for you. Best hashtags is a resource and a website to get hashtag ideas from. Days of the year is a resource for finding those like silly days of the year, like Hug a Tree Day, or celebrate this, or burrito day, or whatever. You'll find those in days of the year. Great for if you're stuck for content. And Answer the Public is, again, another really great free tool. You can put in a specific topic, so maybe that is wakeboarding or paddleboarding or amusements, into Answer the Public, and it will tell you what the public are asking Google, what questions people are asking in relation to that particular topic, which can allow you to create educational content, such as how do I stand up for the first time on a paddleboard, or what is wakeboarding, or whatever that might be. The rest of them are all really great tools, well worth having a look at, but Canva, Creator Studio, and Answer the Public are my 3 personal favorites that I would recommend. Okay, so lastly, future opportunities. Very quickly, just to point out 1 or 2 of them, because I'm just conscious of the time. So here are a couple of different things to think about. So utilizing influencers, or more commonly, I would say micro-influencers, which are people who are kind of below influencer status. So what we kind of find now is influencers more and more are asking for and specifying monetary amounts within those contracts, those agreements, whereas a micro-influencer will still promote your content or publish your content in exchange for a meal at your restaurant, or a discount on an attraction, or whatever that might be. So micro influencers are worth looking into and considering if you want to increase your reach within a particular age group. Reach out to an influencer who reaches and resonates with the age group or the demographic that you want to reach. Shoppable posts, not so relevant for you guys in your industry, but consider it if it's something that you do. The rise of groups, like we've touched on already. Facebook groups are a great place to build a community if your focus is maybe on kind of interact with people in your industry, or maybe you're focused on like sport and you have people working on a challenge, wherever that might be. Another thing is TikTok. So TikTok is a rising trend. Well, I'd say you don't feel like you need to be on it, check it out and have a look at it and see maybe if it is relevant for your business, because it is something that is growing. Okay, I'm flying this as fast as I can because I'm aware of the fact that it's already 25 past. So I'm gonna have a quick look and see if there are any questions in the Q&A section. So while I do that, I'm gonna hand back over to Chris. Chris is just gonna chat us through a couple of examples of the MEA work that he does, and ways that they implement social media strategies in a good way. So Chris, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Rebecca. You covered an awful lot there in a relatively short space of time, so good going.
Thank you.
And with a cold as well.
I know.
Yeah, as Rebecca said, I'm the digital officer for tourism team at Mid and East Antrim Council. So I look after the content and the publishing on both the Shape by Seeing Stones and Gobbins social media accounts. Are you want to flick on the slide there for me, Rebecca? Yes. Lovely, okay. Thanks.
Sorry.
You're okay. So
I'll take you back. Oh, there we go.
There we go. That's the one. Yep. So just to run over some of our social media marketing goals, we with all our content that we publish, we try we aim to kind of reach all of these goals from that. So to reach prospective visitors and people who are currently in the destination, generate awareness of the destination for those people, and also then to encourage and entice people to visit the area. So those first 3 kind of all relate to the various parts of a customer's journey. If we're thinking of people who may not even be considering coming to Mid and East Antrim, also the people who have already booked something in the area, and also the people who are currently in the area and are looking for inspirational things to do. All of our posts then would relate to those people. The aim then is to increase the length of stay and the amount of spend in the area of that kind of links in with the tourism NI's tourism strategy goal as well, of increasing. We want people to stay longer and spend more. So our posts would aim to maximize that and do that, and also then to maximize direct bookings for the Gobbins. So I'll touch on that in a second through some of our posts. So the platforms that work for us and the ones that we've chosen to focus on, like Rebecca said, not every platform is going to work for every business. And for us, both Shape by Seeing Stone and the Gobbins, we use Facebook and Instagram for the social media marketing activities. Facebook, got a wide-ranging age demographic. It can utilize imagery and video effectively. I know we're kind of echoing what Rebecca has already said, and easily using links. That's the big one for Facebook for us, particularly with booking on booking sites for the goblins, and also the detailed analytics and insights on Facebook. It's very important that we can report back on our social media activities. We can see what's working, what's not working, who our audience is, times to post. All of that comes into play, particularly when we're using paid advertising. The analytics and insights is very important. With Instagram, there's the strong focus on the visual impact. So again, we're always looking for high quality content, although it's not always possible. We do have budget for professional videography and photography, thankfully, so we're able to post quite a lot of good, strong visual content on the Instagram page. The link in bio, which Rebecca mentioned earlier, I use Bitly, but there are others. I know Rebecca mentioned a different one earlier in the presentation. The link in bio is very useful for us because it's a call to action. Any post that we put onto Instagram, we're directing people to click on our link in bio, and then that will actually open up a new page with a whole list of links that are related to all the content that we post, and maybe over the last month or so. So people can really easily get through to the websites that we're talking about and to the experiences that we're promoting. Hashtags, again, it's an important one, particularly on Instagram. For destination marketing, it's really useful to use hashtags that are related to the area. For example, the Causeway Coastal Route hashtag, the Tourism NI hashtags like Embrace Giant Spirit, My Giant Adventure, and then obviously the specific ones to whatever the experiences that we're promoting. And easy to share user-generated content. We're lucky to have a destination like the Goblins in our area, and whenever we're promoting that, we have no end of content from people who are out there on a daily basis, and they're sending through their videos and their reels, they're tagging us, and we're able to then push that out through our site, and that gives us almost unlimited content for the Goblins, and it's always, you know, unique and from a different perspective. So that's really handy. But all the other areas in Mid and East Antrim too, we can easily share their content on Instagram, and then the insights capability as well. Similarly to Facebook, there's very similar analytics available for Instagram, which we find useful for us for reporting. So what works for us? We find a combination of organic content and paid advertising works best. Paid advertising is not for everybody. Because we have a marketing budget, we're able to do Facebook ads and things, but that needs to be in conjunction with regular organic content. So we will aim to have a minimum of 3 or 4 posts per day on all the platforms for each of the channels. A mixture of experiential video and imagery content. The videos are obviously, we have less videos, but we do have some very, very high quality videos, which we do post in throughout the imagery. So that keeps the content kind of interesting for people. It keeps it engaging. And we do find that the videos perform very well in terms of engagement. Yeah, which is the next point. That's one of the reasons we do try to keep a focus on video. So collaborating with other organizations on key content has also improved reach. With our best quality posts, we would collaborate with Tourism NI or Discover Northern Ireland on social media, and they would then agree to publish that same post on their site as a collaborator on the post. So we get a combined engagement, we get a combined reach for that content. And that's available for everybody to do. They obviously have to accept that invitation to be a collaborator, but generally if the content's good and it's relevant, it's usually a really good way of increasing your engagement. We just run through a few examples of our recent posts and to kind of show how we put that into practice. The one on the left there is a recent post for the Goblins on their Facebook page. We've got I know it's quite small, probably can't read the text, but there's some descriptive text there on the post. We've got really good images, a selection of images, which always looks good on Facebook feeds. There's a link there as well. It's a direct link to the booking page of the Goblins website. Again, on Facebook, you can do that. Then you can just tap the link and it takes you through. And then there's a list of hashtags. So we've got all the Tourism NI hashtags there. We've got the Causeway Coastal Route hashtag. We've got the Gobbins hashtag. We've got the Shaped by Sea and Stone hashtag. It's all there. So people who are already doing the Causeway Coastal Route, maybe they're visiting and they're following that hashtag, which a lot of people will be if they're doing that experience. It means our content is going to show up on their feeds, or it'll appear on their Instagram or Facebook page, if they're doing their research on the area. The one on the right, Shaped by Sea and Stone, again, similar high quality drone image on that one. There's descriptive text. There's a direct link then to that particular web page that's relating to the coastal path. And we've got all the hashtags as well, similarly on that one. This one is an Instagram post on the Gobbins page. So again, people are used to seeing the Gobbins, very often similar photos of the Gobbins, the tubular bridge from the same angle. So this image was slightly different, and it proved actually really popular. It got good high engagement, got a lot of likes, and it got a really high reach. And I think it's because it was a slightly different different image, but it's got all the hashtags again, and it's got the call to action. Then click the link in our bio, and that has the direct booking link for the Gobbins for Instagram. And then the last one is Shaped by Sea and Stone. We were promoting the Halloween events at Macramorn Estate. So again, a little bit of text, relevant hashtags, and a link to click through direct to the booking site for that particular activity. And that's a video we used. We put this on as a reel. I don't know, Rebecca, if you're able to play that, but it's a 60-second video promoting one of our destination hubs, if you want to just use it as an example.
Let's see what happens. I haven't tried this yet. Did you realize this video? Let's see. So we used that as a reel, and obviously with the hashtags and with our followers on Instagram, local businesses, they shared that on their pages. It gains traction, and it's just an example of good high quality video content, and we're lucky to have a good sort of library of that. So the practices that we implement then, just to finish off, whenever we're promoting a destination, good quality content is key, and whether it's taken by yourself professionally or user generated, it's easy to get content if people are visiting and they're sharing that. You can use that, you can credit them, it'll automatically credit them when you share their posts and things. But another tip just on that, some of you may know that Tourism NI content pool is available for all of the tourism industry to use. So it's a good way to access free, high quality images of the local area for use in your own social media marketing. And the library includes the Tourism NI brand assets as well as their video and photography, which some of you might find useful, even if it's to promote the area around your particular business. So we can email you the link via eSign for that. All you have to do is registration and you've got full access. Two-way engagement, again, it's important to encourage and sustain user-generated content. So even if somebody sends videos or shares or tags us, even a like or a comment to say, great image, thanks for sharing. And obviously we then share the good ones back onto our page. But that two-way engagement, I find, kind of sustains and keeps that flow of user-generated content, rather than ignoring posts and messages and things. But also replying in directly to queries on Facebook and Instagram. We get a lot of messages to the Gobbins pages just with general queries and and sort of frequently asked questions and that. So we'd respond to those very quickly, and that just keeps people kind of engaged that way.
having a website now, I know Rebecca had said at the start of the webinar that this is not the case for everybody, and that's very true. For us, we find that having a website as a foundation for social media activities is really important. We have to justify the time and spend on social media, and therefore the Shape by Sea and Stone and the Gobbins social media content, they all refer traffic back to their own websites, and that's because it can be measured using Google Analytics in terms of users on the website, and particularly with the Gobbins, the bookings or what's called conversions. So if we have a campaign running to promote the Gobbins, for example, for the winter season, and we're trying to increase bookings for the winter months with social media, it's really important that we can track those bookings back to social media, and we'll get a good attribution then to say, we got X number of bookings, or X percentage of the bookings were via those social media posts. So in terms of conversions, it's very important in our circumstances to have websites and to have those links. Any businesses we're promoting, any particular experiences that we're promoting on the social media posts, those links and those calls to action to click the link, they're all reported on and tracked then to kind of give us an idea of how effective the social media activity was. And that kind of is, that's what the last point there is saying. It's all analysed and reported, all the content analysed and reported to ensure that the effectiveness and to help tailor future content to relevant markets. So if we post content and on a specific or particular topic or theme and it performs really well, it tells us something about the market, but also where we can tweak the other content, maybe to make it more engaging, or just helps to tailor all our future content. We know who's interested in what. And that, I think, is it in a nutshell from me. Rebecca, if you want to do the last little slide.
Perfect. Yeah, so thank you very much. Chris, it's just very helpful, I think, to see the practical example of how that actually works for your own industry and for the tourism industry in general. So while Chris was chatting, I was having a check to see if there was any questions. There is one question, which I will answer now. I think the one Chris has answered already. So while I'm answering this question, if you do have any more questions about social media, now is your only chance to get them in, because after I end this call, it ends for everybody. So if you do have a question, fire in now while I'm answering this one. So the question I have in here says, what is the difference between Reels and Stories? So the difference between, I've clicked back onto this, hold on. The difference between Reels and Stories is that, let me just get back to this page, there we go. Reels or videos, they can be anywhere between 15 to 90 seconds in the length of content, and when you post that will go on your feed and a little section called a Reels feed section as well. A story will post in a little section separate from your feed, and it's only live for 24 hours. So a reel is much more thought out, it's much more planned, it has a purpose behind it, it's maybe to educate, entertain, it's maybe to show off your accommodation or something like that, but it is planned out and there's a reason behind it. Stories is a lot more quick of, maybe you are arriving at the place that you work and there's a really beautiful sunrise or something is happening outside and it's timely and it's relevant, you just want to take a quick picture and show what's happening, or maybe you're making your morning coffee and you just want to show people behind the scenes. So the purpose of stories is a lot more a lot less polished and a lot more just like, here is what's going on behind the scenes, or here's some quick timely piece of information I need to share. A reel is essentially a video, but it's just a different type of video to just a general. So a good example is the one that Chris just showed us there, where his is obviously very high quality and very polished in its nature. That might not necessarily always be the case, obviously, but it's generally that kind of idea where there's lots of little pieces of video put together. There's maybe music or maybe somebody's chatting in the background. So hopefully that answers that question. I can see there is another question. Yeah, there's one there. How do you know about trends on social media? Okay, so the best way to know about trends on social media, in my opinion, a couple of different ways. So make sure that you are following people in your industry and make sure you see what those people are doing. And also when it comes to sort of like, I suppose, trends within your followers as well, use that like polls feature on your stories, use polls within the different social media platforms, ask your users what content they want to see, what content they want to know more about, whether it's your services, behind the scenes, whatever that might be. Also depend on the platform. So like we were saying with Twitter, those different like hashtags will come up as trended on the right hand side and you can see them. If you are on Instagram, in your search bar or in your Reels discover feed at the bottom, you can have a scroll through and see what trends you're seeing updating on a recurring basis. But definitely for me, one of the best ways that I'll see what is a trend that is currently happening is either just by looking at my competitors, seeing what they're doing, looking at my news feed, seeing what I'm seeing on a regular basis, and also Googling. Like I will just Google kind of once a month and just see like what are current trends on TikTok, what are current trends on Instagram. And there will be a blog or a post that was probably posted within the last few days that will give you a little bit of insight into what is a current trend. And you can also specifically search, what is a trend in the tourism industry, and you might find something that is relevant. So I kind of search for that every month or so. And then another one, why would a customer keep returning to a place once they have visited it? And if so, why do you need to keep updating your site? People don't follow something that they're effectively just shopping for. Okay, yes. So I know what you mean. So definitely one of the most important ways that you can make sure that if someone has, especially if your service is something where you feel like maybe somebody uses it once, so they might not ever come back, maybe like the goblins, like maybe with the goblins, that might feel like it's something that I go and I do once and maybe I don't come back. One way you can keep people engaged is making sure that your social media content is adding value to that user. And that's not just adding value in terms of selling your service. It's educational, it's entertaining. A great example and a really simple example with the likes of the goblins is, if I have been before, and I actually haven't, but it's on my list, I would continue to follow that page because the content that they're posting is visually engaging and it's beautiful and it's content that I want to see and it's content that makes me feel a particular way because it's really lovely content.
Just to say as well there, Rebecca, just to jump in with the goblins in particular, the goblins is different at every time of the year. So although you visit in the summertime when the sea is flat and turquoise and the place is looking as it does in the summer, we promote the goblins then entirely differently during the autumn and winter months when there's the wet and wild aspect. And that's we use different language, we use different hashtags, embrace the elements kind of thing. So although it's the same product, it does change throughout the year, and we would do some remarketing to visitors who have already been in the summer, and we will send e-zines to them directly, knowing they visited in the summer, but reselling to them why not come in the winter and experience it, in a different light. So although I know what the question is there, it's one product can be visited different times and everybody has a different experience every time that they come back.
And that's maybe something, that's a really good point, because that's maybe something for you to think about, and the person that asked that question, for you to think about for your business, what's my angle, like what can I say there, or how can I encourage people to come back? And maybe do you have, obviously we're kind of version of social media here, but do you have those people in an email list? Can you send them an email to reconnect back in with those people? Or if they do follow you on social media, can you reach out with them via social media? So I think it's a really good point from Chris there. But yeah, really just focus on how can you add value to your users, and that matters whether they're using a service or whether they're buying a product. How can you add value and make them want to stay on your social media? And if it is very much the nature of your services, they genuinely would only ever use it once, word of mouth is really important too. So keep that person on your social media, keep them seeing your content all the time, because then if someone says something about, I want to go and do this or experience this, they'll say, oh, well, this is somewhere that I went before and they're really great and here's their social media and blah, blah, blah. So word of mouth is another reason to keep people engaged with your social media. Okay. The last question that has come up here that we have time for at the minute says, there's an option called a dark post on Facebook. This is to hide a post from another part of people. Is this a good idea? So I'm assuming what you're referring to here is like hiding posts on social media. I would say no, it's not necessarily something I'd recommend or say is something you need to be doing. So another kind of version of that is on Instagram. You can choose to only show content to particular audiences or particular groups of people. One of the fears that sometimes people might have here, so one of the clients I recently worked with, she works with babies and she works in baby massage. So one of her fears is, I don't want to be showing this content to people all the time who their babies have grown up or they're not in that age group anymore, and I don't want to be showing this content and frustrate people. What I say is, don't feel worried about annoying people with your content. Again, just make sure your content is adding value. If you're adding value to people, they will follow you, they will interact. They don't want to know, they won't follow you, and that's okay. But just make sure that you're always focusing on adding value, but then you don't need to be hiding content from people. Another question here is, we're going to answer it really quickly and then we're going to jump off. So what can we offer to our audience to motivate them to click on a call to action, to go to a website, to fill the form, to get them to contact? So loads of things that we can say in here in relation to that. But, first of all, just make sure that your post is engaging and is catching people's attention. Like we said, when we're talking about your target audience, what is their pain point? offer a solution to that pain point, that's definitely something that's going to get someone to click on that thing and to take an action. So again, if you're a tourist attraction, a great example there is, with families or with couples, are you stuck for something to do? Do you want to do something that's like, totally out of your comfort zone? Or, are you, stuck for thinking ideas for date days? Or are you stuck with ideas for families for weekends? That's a pain point. And then here is the solution. That's a good way to get people to click on it. Being really clear with your call to action, being really clear in terms of this is the action I want you to take. Here is the link, or the link is in my bio. Be really clear about how someone can take that action is another good thing. And just making sure as well, when you can, that you're offering an incentive. So the incentive could just be saying that you're offering a solution to that pain point, or it could be things like offering like a 10% discount, or a free, if you're like an experience, might be offering like a free glass of champagne when you're on your tour and your picnic or whatever that might be. So trying to offer some added value in there can also be a good way, and making it timely and time sensitive too. So if you are doing some sort of offer, you might say, this offer is only available for today, so click on this button and take this call to action. And don't be afraid to sell. If the purpose of that post is to sell, don't be afraid to just go for that. Okay, so we have fired through all of our questions there that we had. So that is me. That is all that I have to share. I know that we covered a lot, so hopefully your brains are not fried. But that is all I have to say. So I am going to hand back over to Chris.
That's brilliant, Rebecca. Thanks very much. That does bring us to an end now. Thanks everybody for attending. I hope you all had an enjoyable webinar and you were able to take something away and put it into practice now. And again, thanks Rebecca for that informative webinar. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of their evening.